Yo, Phil here from Wings of Pegasus and welcome to another video. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe. So, this video is going to look like I'm watching myself play the guitar, but on the left-hand side of the screen, I was in fact watching the original performance by a-ha of Take On Me in 2005, to which the link can be found in the description below. If you want to watch that performance, this video has been blocked 2 times previously on the channel, and I think it is because of the video segment and not the audio segment. And I did play over the audio in the previous video, so therefore doing a cover of it, and that is what I'm going to be showing on the right hand side of the screen. With the whole a-ha saga that we've been through, I think that this is either third time lucky or bust, because I'm not going to be doing another version of this video. I think 3 videos is more than enough to try and get this analysis of a-ha from 2005 up on the channel. I know that a lot of you guys have probably seen segments of this video before it got blocked, and in order to make it easier to navigate this video, I'm going to put some timestamps in the comment section below. I'll pin it to the top of the comments so that you can either jump straight to the performance, the vocal analysis, the guitar, how it's played with the chords, or the history of the band. I'll include that all with timestamps at the top of the comments so you can click on that and it will take you straight to that part of the video. Also, a quick thank you to everybody that requested a re-upload of this for my guitar solo at the end of the song. It's just something that I threw in there, but thank you for the kind words and the compliments about it, and hopefully, fingers crossed, this will stay up there so that the solo will be there and the other part when I'm playing all the chords and playing all the chops in the verse, hopefully that'll all stay there as well. Fingers crossed. Let's see how we get on. I'm just going to jump in here. As always, the link to this video is going to be in the description below, so you guys can check it out there without me interrupting it. But with this version, of course, we get that E5, and Morton in that other video went to the octave below because it was a totally different arrangement, but here it is exactly the same as that original. And the way that he hits those notes, I'm not going to repeat everything that I said in that first video about his vocal register that he's using, and there is a definite flip that he has into his head voice sound and the inhalare, la voce that I mentioned in that other video. You can see the way that he's hitting that E5. He has his chin almost into his chest and he's holding the microphone in, and it is something that when you start to learn to sing and you're trying to hit higher notes, you almost visualize them as being high up in the air. So people lift their chin and they start reaching for the note as if that's going to help them get there. It is something that I've mentioned before about mental imagery when singing, and things that some singers do, for example, just touching their first finger to their thumb when they're trying to get a very light connection with their vocal cords. They use that as some kind of mental imagery, and other singers who are moving their hand up and down as if the scale is in front of them and they're just picking out the notes. Just to reference that technique that I mentioned in the other video, inhalare la voce, when you inhale the voice, that's effectively what it means, translated from Italian. And I give an example going, ah, and I'm breathing in there in order to make that sound, and it almost looks like here, obviously it's the octave above, so when Morten is singing this, he's crouched into that, but it almost sounds like that kind of clarity of connection between his vocal cords. He's not doing that, or at least I don't believe he is doing that. I think that he's got that control in order to get such a clean connection really high up in his range. He has figured out how to get that same sound that you would get with the technique that I just demonstrated, but exhaling. So therefore you get a lot more expression in there. A lot of people just see every high note sung by a guy as falsetto, whereas you do have different ranges that really do rely on different parts of the voice, and falsetto can also be used for notes that you can sing in your head voice, but they are different registers, and connecting one with the other is impossible. So if you were to hold a note going all the way up through your range as a guy, and then you wanted to get into your falsetto register, you cannot blend those together. You have to stop. Just to give a quick example of a connected note going into falsetto, you'll hear it's a totally different sound. So if I went, that breathy sound is the falsetto sound, and you could hear the difference between the connection, and this is why in Italian it means false, because that second version of the note was so weak and had loads of air going through there, it wasn't connected. Just to take you guys through the chords, if you want to play along, it's a lot less involved than the acoustic version we looked at a couple of nights ago. In the intro, we've just got B minor, E, A, and then D with a little rundown. So we go to a D sus2, bring that little finger over to the C sharp or D flat, depending on how you're feeling. And we get that sound back into the B minor. Kind of like that. The only thing to look out for is at the end of the intro, the pedaling between the B minor and the E, and it doesn't progress. It's B minor, E, B minor again, rather than going to the A, and then E again, and then the verse starts on the B minor again. And verse-wise, same chords, B minor, E, A, D, and you can do that same little rundown again if you want to that B minor. The only thing to look out for as we transition into the chorus is an F sharp that's thrown in there. So we've got the B minor, E, F sharp into the D, and no rundown here because now we're going into the chorus, and the chorus starts in A, and then we've got E, then we've got the F sharp minor into the D. Now we've got an option here if you want to follow the bass, which you can do, which means that if you play your bar chord A on the 5th fret and then you move down, here I can play the root that's descending. Technically here we're still playing an E because my little finger's on that E, but I'm throwing in this A flat, which is what the bass is doing. It goes down from the A to the A flat, and then to the F sharp, into the D. So you'll find that gives it a little bit of a different sound because we get this same line that the bass is playing, but you can just go down to the E if you want to. I just like the sound of putting in that A flat. The thing to look out for at the end of the chorus is once we've descended, the third chord is straight to the D and then the E, because that's now going to set us up for the B minor. which is now the start of the second verse. The only other part you'll need is the middle 8, or the bridge, which we've got our C sharp minor into a G, C sharp minor again, into a G again, into a B minor, into an E. And then we're pedaling between the B minor and the E again while the riff's going on, and then we're going to be back into another verse, which will be the B minor, E, A, D, with the rundown back into the B minor. Just quickly as well to show you guys what Paul is playing on the guitar in this performance, he's not playing any of the chords in the verse, he's playing single notes and, interestingly, muting everything apart from the G string. So it means that he's got this sound. So to give an example of what he's playing, we've got this. Kind of like that, keeping that groove in there. Again, hitting all of those strings, just keeping all of the ones you don't want muted. And you could see there we had a little upstroke where we changed to the E with that 3rd finger or the 9th fret on your G string. So we've got this like that. And then we shift down to the 6th fret. And then place on the 2nd finger in exactly the same groove as that first phrase, now on the 7th fret of the G string. But let's get back into the performance and we'll watch it all the way to the end. And there we have it. And there are so many things that we can look at in this performance, not only from that vocal perspective of being so solid, but also the professionalism that Morten shows when his in-ears are failing, and you can see that he has to take one of them out and he puts his finger in his ear in order to try and hear what he's singing. And anybody that has played live or played at big venues will know exactly how it feels to lose reference from your own vocal. If you can't hear your own voice, you've got nowhere to go knowing whether you're on pitch or whether you're off pitch. And it's something that, in this particular example, Morton throws it out to the crowd because it's obvious that his in-ears are totally failing. And this might have been a loss of battery power. More likely, it would have been controlled at the desk, which means that you are relying on the guy behind that desk controlling the feed that goes into your ears. And just in case you don't know what I'm talking about, the in-ear monitors plays your voice in your ear, because when you perform it's really loud and sometimes you can't hear your own voice when you're singing. Morton will be hearing his voice, and you can see actually at the beginning of the performance he looks across and does a down motion, so it's too loud. It might have been the case that they then overcompensated behind the desk and turned it too far down, or it might have just been a total loss of signal. You can see at about 2 minutes and 33 seconds that everything's not right, and Morton's trying to suss it out. He takes one of those in-ears out, and eventually he takes both of those out and does cup his ear to try and hear his own voice. It is something that can be dangerous for singers if they're now having to shout their vocal to be heard, because that's where you do vocal damage, especially for a guy like Morton who has such control of his vocal. He's not singing at an extreme volume. He's got control of his vocal cords. Not using too much air is essential to stop the vocal cords from drying out. Just to mention as well, if you don't sing or perform yourself and you've seen a singer put their finger in their ear, they're just trying to hear their own voice, the resonance of their voice in their head, so that they've got that reference point. If you are performing in front of a band and you're close to the drummer or the guitarist, you might be standing in front of a Marshall stack or something, there's going to be a lot of volume behind you. So if you don't do that, you won't be able to hear your own voice. You need to have at least one ear closed to then hear what's going on. And you can try that at home now if you want to, and you're talking and you put one finger in your ear. If you do two fingers in both ears, it means that you'll now start to hear your own voice within your head and nothing else outside. It's often something that singers do in order to have that reference point. Also, this is the kind of song that you can't blag vocally, and that's why Morton, when he was having those problems, made sure that he could hear his voice again before getting back into the vocal. This song is such a great example of the ascension pitch-wise that we have in order to take you to the peak of that mountain for the chorus. And we have that just in the chorus alone, but we've got all of the elements you need here for a monster hit. We've got the riff in the beginning, that synth riff, which is so hooky. It's just one of those hooks that you can play that as many times as you want and you're not going to get bored of it. The other thing is the way that the drums motor along full time, they are already setting you up for the high note in the chorus. And when I say that, what I mean is by driving along and keeping it going all the way through the verse and the chorus, when we go to half time in the chorus before the highest note of the song, which is that E5, because we've gone to half time, it's going to be so much more dramatic when that high note comes in, because we're musically taking a breath, because we're now moving at half the speed we have been previously. So we're breathing in, we're getting ready for something, and that's when Morton hits the E5. We go back into full time and we're hit with that. So we reach the peak of our mountain. Just to mention the notes being sung here in terms of range, we go from A2 to E5 just in the chorus. And I say in other videos about having that change or range of an octave in order to make a journey out of a song and to take you to that peak, whereas you don't need a degree in maths to understand that going from A2 to E5 is quite a long way. And A2, for reference, is the open A string if you've still got your guitars out, and the E5 is the 12th fret of your high E string. So going from the A2, we go to A3, we go to A4, then we go B4, C5, D5, E5. So we're talking 2.5 octaves, a little bit more. There is crazy range in this song. It is something that often you would look at as a novelty. Sometimes people that can sing really high notes just put it into a song, but it doesn't necessarily serve the song, or is just seen as, or sounds like, showing off because that person can do that. But here we have the perfect application of perfect vocal technique, range, but applied in context to a great song. Just to show you guys the melody that's going on vocally, it's just notes from the A major scale. And obviously they're rearranged, so it doesn't sound like a scale just going up and down. So we've got this. And like that. And then we're into A as the chorus starts. But all of these notes being rearranged, when we then get into the chorus, we've got exactly the same thing. So we're going. And if we work our way down from that 12th fret where we've just ended up, we're still in that A major scale. And it is a good guide if you are writing a song yourself and you're not sure what the melody can be over the top, then as long as you know what key your song is in, just take notes from the major scale, if it's a major key, and the minor scale, if it's a minor key, just put them in a different order and then just find something that you like the sound of and then just keep repeating it. And once you know the notes of the scale, you'll start to extemporize a bit and then come up with your own melody lines. I think with a-ha in the mid-80s, it was the perfect storm because they had got together in 1982, just a few years earlier in Norway, and they moved over to London in order to chase the dream. And the song, Take On Me, was actually released a few times, and this was the second version of it. And it also had this video that was made for it, which got into heavy rotation on MTV. I mentioned about the rotoscoping technique and drawing out every frame of the video after they'd recorded it and then sticking those two elements together. It was such a groundbreaking video, and it was that perfect storm because you had the great vocals on there, the range, the technique, the hooks that you get within the song as well, the great image of the band, and then a great video that was standalone that was in heavy rotation on the biggest channel at the time, and music videos were such a huge part of the 80s and for success in the 80s. If you didn't have a music video with your song, you were at such a massive disadvantage. So when they got to London, they were looking for a studio to record at, and John Ratcliffe's studio had a Space Invaders machine, the arcade. So that has been said to be the reason why they chose John's studio. John also had a manager, and that was Terry Slater. So once they heard this band recording in the studio, the two, John and Terry, then decided to co-manage the group. And a-ha, the band name, was chosen because it was something that was in Paul's notebook of songs, and it was a song originally, or was going to be, and it was something that Morton looked at and he liked the name of it, and he said it wasn't a very good song, but it worked out well as the band name. The first release was in 1984 of Take On Me, and the song was known as a different song previously. I think it was one of those that was just reworked, re-recorded, and it morphed into what we now know as Take On Me, which was then re-released in 1985 with the accompanying video, and then it became a monster hit. It went to #1 in the USA, making a-ha the first Norwegian band to ever get to #1 in the USA, and it also got to #2 in the UK, but it was a monster hit all across the world. So they had a relatively fast rise to success from moving to the UK in 1983 and then in 1985 being faces that everybody knew worldwide because of that video that was in heavy rotation on MTV and the song. But I'm not going to have time to get into a lot of the history because I know that this video has gone on for quite a while already. Thank you guys for suggesting this video for me to take a look at, and keep those suggestions coming in the comments below. Let me know what you guys think, and if you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe, and I'll see you guys at the next one. Rock!